Hi, this is 365801 and this is a January wrap-up. This is wrap-up number 3 for 2022. Now, as you can see, there are quite a few titles there for physical this week, which is quite good. I am trying to read more of my physical titles, so I did manage to read a fair few, but I did also read quite a few digital titles, whether that was ebook or with an audiobook or through Futeki as well. So let's just get into it. Now, if you've been following me on social media, you will see that I have started a love stage sort of buddy read with Katie. I am just kind of starting on book 3. I'll maybe have finished it by the time this video goes up. But I have read volume 1 and volume 2. This is Love Stage by Eiki Eiki and Taishizao. I won't go into this too much because I am obviously doing a vlog for it because I thought I would. So I'll give more of my thoughts as I'm reading it and talk more about it once I've finished the full series. So the first thing that I think I need to talk about, it was the thing that I started way back at the start of the week, and that is the Magpie Trilogy, or A Charm of Magpies, and this is part of my 12 and 12 series. This is where I take 12 book recommendations from 12 of my mutuals, anyone who's on any of the social media platforms, and they give me a recommendation and I read the recommendation. And that's it. That's all it is. And Jen does the thing. I think that's what she's known on Twitter. Gave the recommendation of... It was originally Slippery Creatures from the Will Darling series, but I have already read that. But then she checked and said, well, you like the Magpie Lord, obviously, and I haven't read that one. So this was the what I was actually going to be reading. I've wanted to read it, obviously, since I saw... Well, I keep seeing it, and it was like always there, and then people would go on about it, and I saw it on social media. Lots of people talk about it being great and being one of their favourites. And I was like, okay, great, I will want to read it. And then I started reading more KJ Charles, and I was like, oh god, I'm gonna definitely love that one. Because it's got everything. It's got magic, it's got historical, male romance, tick, 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 all the boxes. And... definitely, it's fantastic. I loved it. I read obviously the first one, which also has the extra story interlude with tattoos. I also listened to it at the same time as reading it with the audiobook. So good. It's so good. It follows the story of Stephen Day, who is a magician or practitioner, I should say. They do make the distinction that he's a practitioner. And then we have Lord Crane, who is a kind of aristocrat, but he's kind of the most odd kind of aristocrat you could ever come across, because him and his manservant Merrick just have had the most extraordinary life that he does not really come across as being the traditional aristocrat in any way, shape or form. Plus he's involved in trade, I say, making money. But he has inherited recently, due to the death of his father and his elder brother, this title of Lord Crane, and the house and all of the property and everything to do with being the new lord. So he has a seat in the House of Lords, but there's something going on with him. He keeps having these attacks, and he keeps wanting to try and do himself some bodily harm, and they think that it might be a magical thing. So they get in touch with a man that they know called Rackham from Shanghai, because they used to live in Shanghai. Now they're back in England, having to deal with the fact that Lord Crane, Lucian's estate, needs to be dealt with. And so Rackham suggests someone come round, and the person who comes round is a very short man. He's barely around 5 foot, whereas Lucian is 6'3", I think he's supposed to be. Tall, blonde, very elegantly dressed. And there's Stephen, who's short, and he's got curly kind of auburn hair and bright yellowy orange eyes and very, very scruffy clothes. And the two of them seem like almost opposites, which is of course perfect because he's also a magician, so he needs to figure out what's going on, and they just go on an adventure. Lucien Vaudry, that's his name. Lord Crane, also known as Lucien Vaudry, but he's got like a million other names as well. I loved it, and I felt like it was too quick. It was just way too fast. I don't want to go into it too much because I don't want to give the story away, but basically, you know, it's fantastic, it's wonderful, it's superb, it's, you know, like basically put that gif of Lady Gaga up, because all of the above, yes, thanks Jen, I knew I was going to love it, you knew I was going to love it, we all knew I was going to love it, but it was so short. I think it was like only like 140 or 150 pages. Like, what? It was so quick. I mean, that was one of the great things about it, was it really did just like bang, 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 follow, action. It did feel like their attraction was quite quick. I seriously could have read another, let's say, 100 pages quite easily on just the same story. So the same story could have been padded out a bit more, few little extra scenes, or, you know, extend a certain scene. I did feel like it was ever so slightly quick because it was over before it began, and I was like, what? It really did feel really, really quick. And then there was the extra interlude with tattoos at the end, which was a free story that she gave, but then she's collected them together since it's been republished, because this is quite an old version of her books. Anyway, it's fantastic. I love it. I loved them. I ate it up with a spoon. It was so good. And I really enjoyed the audiobook versions as well, and being able to like read along with them. Yeah, there was a few things I do have to point out that I raved about A Marvellous Light, because I loved it. And I'm going to say this is going to be odd, but I did find that it was slightly, maybe overly long in places. A little bit like, get a move on. Which this definitely does not have that criticism at all. Now, the other thing is that when I was reading A Marvellous Light, I went to Goodreads and saw that someone had already read it, and they posted their review, and their review was basically, wow, this is just very the Magpie Lord-ish, like the Magpie Lord, but maybe just not quite as good. And I was like, ooh, burn, ouch, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? Because I hadn't read the Magpie Lord, and now I'm thinking, yeah, 100% accurate. I really enjoyed A Marvellous Light, but yeah, the Magpie Lord is superior. It is the superior version, thank you. The original. And I know that Freya Marsk, who's the author of A Marvellous Light, is a huge KJ Charles fan, and has said, you know, wow, if anyone would make the reference to the Magpie Lord, I would be astounded and grateful. But it's a little bit too close to the bone, now that I'm thinking about it. So, the Magpie Lord, original and best, definitely. I really enjoyed it, it's so good. So that's just the first book, when they kind of get together and they have to figure out what's going on, and who Lucian really is, and why there's magic involved in his family and the demise of his family. And then we have the next book, which is A Case of Possession, where there's lots of if I remember correctly, they're like all these It's like, is it Chinese things going on? Or is that the next one? I honestly... I want to just read more of their adventures. I want more Stephen and Lucian just running around London and having fun, and it was kind of sad when they got to the end of A Flight of Magpies. I was like, no, that's that's a shame. I did enjoy The Flight of Magpies. They had the introduction of new magic, so the idea that there was someone who could... I can't say it. I'll give the game away. I'm not going to give the game away. Anyway, there was more magic introduced, and then there was a big thing of a magpie kind of connection, obviously, because that's what it's all about. This is a very rambling review, but it's really good, and all the little extra stories as well. And oh my god, I could have just kept on going. Now, after the three main stories, they also have some extras as well. There's an extra, like, previous one when Lucian is in... He needs to get... Oh, bless him. He needs to get saved from the warlord's clutches. Oh, so many silly stories. And then we get Jackdaw, which I was genuinely like, oh, woo, for moments of the Magpie Lord, A Case of Possession, and Flight of Magpies. I was genuinely like, oh, are they going to be okay? Is everyone going to be okay? But in Jackdaw, there were moments when I sobbed. I sobbed because of the utter pain and anguish that the two main characters found themselves in. So Jackdaw follows another character who was kind of a baddie in Flight of Magpies, but he wasn't really a baddie. He was someone who had to do something that he didn't want to because he was doing something to save someone else. And the person he was trying to save was someone who he was in a relationship with. And the two of them, Ben, oh god, it was just so sad. And I sobbed. I literally had tears streaming down my face at moments when the two of them are just screaming at each other because they both feel like they've been betrayed in a way, or that they have betrayed, but they've done it for reasons, and it's like, oh. And then when they go off and they go and live in Cornwall, it's just the most pure thing. It's so good. And then when Day catches up with them, and it's like, oh no. Oh, I was just on the edge of my seat. I loved it. Jackdaw, I think, was a really great story, which made, unfortunately, A Queer Trade and Dragonbone just a little bit disappointing. It's definitely my least favourite of the 5 books, because you kind of knew where it was going, and you could kind of tell who the bad guys were. You could kind of tell what was happening. It was a little bit too obvious. And also, I'm not entirely sure if I am a huge fan of the two characters. I kind of felt like Ned was... I don't know, it was kind of a bit of an insta-love, but it was also like he wasn't particularly forgiving of Crispin at times, and I was like, stop being a dick. Really, stop being a dick, is in my head. Like, Crispin, yes, he's looking for something in his life that he's not been able to get because of his situation. Crispin is lovely. Crispin is a sweetheart, and tries so hard all the time, and no one gives him credit. And then I guess it was just an interesting one. I found that when it comes to this, I've been chatting about this way too long, but it was a great series. It was a lot of reading. It was most of the week. I think it was like Thursday or Friday, so it did take me like one book a day kind of thing, and I just like went through it. I will reread this series. I will probably reread this series at some point this year. I do recommend having a listen to the audiobook as well. It's very enjoyable. I I think Merrick is an interesting character, and I didn't see that coming. If you know, you know. I did not see that coming. But I like the fact that they go off and have their adventures. But I want to know what adventures they had. I want to read more. Surely there's more. I mean, I would like to have more, anything more of KJ Charles. And that is the thing that I will try and do this year. 2022 will be the year that I complete my reading everything that KJ Charles has written challenge. That's one of my challenges. So, yeah. A Charm of Magpies and all of the Charm of Magpies world books were wonderful, as predicted by Jen. Thank you so much for giving me the little push that I needed. It's definitely something that I was going to read anyway. It was on my plan, but to just have that little read, what are you going to read for January? What do I really want? And it's at the top of my list. So obviously she similar tastes of go for it. It's a good, then it is. It's KJ Charles. Now, the next thing I read was also a KJ Charles, but it was for amuse-bouche's sake. It was because I didn't want to completely go away from KJ Charles's world, but I didn't want to start another one of her books, and I have other things I need to read as well. But I needed something like a palate cleanser. And so I thought I'd do a reread of The Rune of Gabriel Ashley, which is part of A Society of Gentlemen, which I did read in September last year, and it's just 40 pages long, something like that. And it's so good. It's so good. It is quite easily become like a comfort read for me. So if I feel like I just need a bit of sassiness and a bit of smexiness and a bit of sexual tension, and I just give myself a wee quick 20 minutes or half an hour and have a wee read of that, and I feel so good. It's so funny. The minute when the bet, the card game, when he's like, well, I'll give you a chance to win your fortune back. And he's like, what's the terms? And he's like, I'll give you your fortune if you win. And if I win, you bend over that table, spread your legs, and get ready to call my name because I'm doing ya. And it's like, oh, his virtue. So yeah, it's like one of those betting the body for the fortune back kind of thing, and it's just so good. It's so good. And I love Gabriel and I love Francis, and we don't get much of them in the Society of Gentlemen, and this is the only story that we get, and it's like, I want more. Why is KJ Charles not giving me more? I want more of their story. I want more of their interactions. I want more of just this book. This little short story could have been a full novel for me, and I would have eaten it up with a spoon. Oh, they're just so good together, and I really could have had a full novel. So good. So I only read 2 titles from Futekia this week, which is a really small number compared to the last 2. The first one is Love Story of Hoshino Zoo by Koyama. This was actually the second volume. The first one I read it at the end of December, and I really loved it. It was super cute. It's really adorable. It follows just these animals, but they're personified, and their interactions with each other, often with a mixture of different animals. In the first volume, there was a human who can see all of these animals, but see them as people and understand them. And so, is it Kurihara? He's able to talk to them, and so he's like the main character that kind of wanders around the zoo, and he gets to know all of these different animals as people. And so I really enjoyed it. It was super cute, super sweet, kind of chilled, relaxed kind of story. And the second volume came out this week, and so I jumped on it because I really did enjoy Koyama's last two works that I read. The first story is about Susutake, who is a kite, and he lives quite a difficult life, and he meets Jin, who was the giraffe, who, if you've watched my previous wrap-up video for December, I loved the giraffe. I thought he was so funny. He's just so tall, and it's just so funny to see this big giant giraffe be all like flirty with this bird. It just made me laugh so much. And that's the main story. The next one is about Pino and Jean, or Jean, I don't know, and they were sheep. It was just a really cute story about this poor wee sheep who was the only sheep in the goat pen, and all these old goats, and they were literally like, the goats were old. They weren't like oh, just a bunch of old goats. They were actually old. So they were all like, oh, we wanna see you happy, Pino, we wanna see you happy. It was just so cute how they kind of made a plan to try and get him together with Jean, and Jean coming in and being all like tsundere and not really knowing how to interact, and the two of them just sitting there chewing grass and sleeping together next to each other on the grass, and that's their life. It's super cute. The goats were great as well. I loved the goats. Then we had the story of Ruby and Raoul, and Ruby is a small bird, Raoul is a barn owl, I think, and Raoul just kind of doesn't have any friends because he's a predator. He eats all the little birds. So he says these things to the birds that come and visit him so that he can scare them off, so that they don't then get scared by him, and he's not lost another friend. Anyway, Ruby's annoyed because he needs to find a new nesting spot, and he ends up meeting Raoul, and they end up becoming friends. And it's just super cute. It's just the cutest little story. If you have not yet read Love Story of Hoshino Zoo, definitely give it a go, because it's just super, super cute. The other story that I read was Tell Us How You Really Feel, Demon Prince. And I swear, this is by Sasayama Akira. And Sasayama Akira has obviously got a thing for Yuri Prisetsky from Yuri on Ice. Like, what's the other one that came out? I have to admit, I've never watched, is it Promare? That one with the firefighters? Which I was like, oh, it's kind of like a Yuri Prisetsky in black bondage. And this is it. Only he's a demon prince. And it's comedy straight off the bat, so it's absolutely stupid. And it's fantasy, so it's absolutely stupid. And it's a bit weird to try and describe what's going on, which is why there's so much exposition in it, and I'm like, this makes no sense. But then when you read it, you're like, okay, it makes sense. It doesn't really, but so there's Mamoru Akamichi, who is Red Soul. He's part of the Soul Justice. So basically think of like Power Rangers, but like real, and they have proper like strength and powers and stuff. And they're against, this is basically Power Rangers. Just think of this as Power Rangers. They've been fighting against these aliens and demons, and the Demon King was defeated and has gone off to become a vegetable farmer. He's a very good vegetable farmer, so everyone's like happy about it because his vegetables are like the best, except for his son Lulud, who is not happy about it, and he is desperately trying to fight with Akamichi because he wants to take over his father's mantle and become like a demon king, but he's the demon prince, and he wears the most ridiculous outfit. It is sexy AF, and all of the like normal people are just enamored with him and think he's just the cutest and sweetest, and they're like, oh, hey, demon prince, how you doing? I'm good, citizen. Super funny. And it's just a wee cute story, and they obviously, you know, maybe there was something going on between them, and every time they have to interact, they get closer, and it's definitely enemies to lovers, and I was here for it. I was here for that jiggly little ass. His jiggly little ass. It was just the cutest thing. It was very sexy and very cute, and I was 100% here for. Tell us how you really feel, Demon Prince. Now, the first physical manga title that I want to talk about in a little bit more in depth is Volume 3 of What Did You Eat Yesterday by Fumi Yoshinaga. I am continuing my What Did You Eat Yesterday read. I will continue, and I think I'll just continue for the rest of the year, reading one of these a week. They are the kind of... it's a kind of manga that you really can read one a week, or one a year even, and it's fine. There's not too much story. It's just chill, and it's delicious, and it's sweet, and it's endearing, and it's just slice of life, and it's the most relaxing read, really. And there's just little tidbits here and there of things that happen that just make me laugh, but overall at the end I kind of go, that was nice. The dishes were great, like when Kenji's making the Sapporo Ichiban miso ramen. It just made me laugh because he was like, Shiro was like, I called you, you didn't answer. He was like, I made ramen. And it was like, oh, Ichiban ramen, yeah, okay, cool. Like, he just accepts that you can't answer someone, you have to eat it as soon as it's been made, because the noodles will go soggy, and it has to be eaten fresh, and it was just like little things like that of understanding. Things like when Shiro accidentally gets thought that he's like in some way sexual harassing the associate, the new member of staff who's coming doing the placement there. He gets so kind of caught up in trying not to be something that he never really relaxes himself. I just kind of feel that it's a little bit disappointing, because Kenji's so sweet, and in this one, when they're talking about the peaches, the whole peach story about how he goes and gets these peaches from the other lady, who I love their interactions. I love the two of them just chatting and being all like, hey, I've got a good deal on this, do you want to get some? Like, even just general, like them going to the supermarket and getting some good deals. It's just like, I totally 100% imagine, yep, I get it. But yeah, the peach one, when he's doing, like, when he's talking about being a gay man, and a gay man over 40, and how he knows he would suffer more if him and Kenji were to split up, because he's like, it's a bother. and then the lady who he's friends with is just like, oh god, yeah, I'm married to my husband, and oh man, we don't exactly get on brilliantly, but oh, what a hassle it would be to have to do all that. And it's just that whole thing of, what a pain, we'll just stick with the people we have. But then right at the very end of the chapter, when Kenji's eating the peach and for dessert, and he's like, for me, I feel so loved. And then Shiro's like, well, it's not really that the case, but actually kind of is. Like, he's still in denial about that. And then the pancakes, because I ate pancakes this week, so I was like, me too, I eat pancakes too. It's so silly, but I absolutely love it, and every week it's just a little delight. It's like a proper little rest for my soul. I feel like I'm cleansing myself. It's so good. I totally recommend just picking up a volume and reading it, just to make yourself feel good. So I picked up the title Melting Lover by Bukuro Yamada this week. It was really cheap, £5.99. Very happy to get it from Blackwell's. I haven't picked up a brand new copy of anything BL for less than £6 for a while now. So when I saw one for £5.99, and it's Kuma, which means it's such great quality great quality publishing. I really do think that Kuma does like the best quality BL publishing. Their paper always feels fantastic. The binding's always really tight. It's really nice. Lovely. And this particular volume is really nice. I love the thin cover that they have on this volume. The color insert as well, really nice. And Melting Lover is an interesting one. It's a series of like one-shots or short stories. Melting Lover is about this blob that comes to Earth and can take on the different shapes of people. Bottom of Heaven is like an angel and a kind of assassin that's been forced into being assassin. Doesn't really want to be. And then The Circus After Midnight is kind of a sad one, and I knew which way it was going before it even had really started. I was like, oh, I know what's happening here, which was kind of depressing. And then Noisy Jungle as well is an interesting one with it's kind of like this weird future where there's I don't know what they would be, like humanoid entities, kind of like robots, but they're not, or maybe they are. And it's kind of a short one, and the guy's keeping basically a human as a pet, but the human doesn't really seem to have the intelligence that humans do. But he finds his pet very attractive. It's a weird one, but I really do love the artwork, and I love the atmosphere of this volume. It's kind of melancholy, but also soft, and kind of, it's like dark, but also hopeful. It's weird. It's definitely an interesting volume, but I'm just so happy to have a copy because I've been meaning to get one for ages. And to get one for such a great price, I'm really, really happy. And it just feels lovely. It's such good quality. So, I think this one was 2019. Yes, 2019 publication. So, I'm doing quite well getting these older titles. And just a really fantastic another addition to my collection. Now, the other title that I picked up was Deflower the Boss by Ayane Sakuragi. This is a June manga title. Published in, I think it said 2014? Is that right? Yeah, January 2014. I do remember this going on sale and me going, oh, cool. I'm going to have to get a copy. And then not getting a copy. And then just never seeing it. So I was really pleased to get a good copy. This was probably around retail price, which isn't fantastic, but it's still better than the £25, which was the cheapest amount that I saw Deflower the Boss going for. Because it is like a 2014 publication, so it's actually quite late. They obviously didn't print a lot of it. And I do have to say the art style is not to my taste, but the story is solid. It's a good, solid story. And I have to say this is actually quite good quality for something this age, because I mean 2014 seems like it was just yesterday, but it's not when it's 2022. It feels like whoever had this before me had like read it once, maybe, because the spine doesn't feel like it's been broken in at all. There's just a slight tint to the outer page, so I think this is a really good quality one. I'm very happy to get it. And the story was actually, like I said, pretty solid. There's 3 stories actually in this. The first one, Deflower the Boss, is about a man who is, I think he's like 33 or something, and he's having a works birthday party, and then someone who goes and visits him, you know, kind of blurts out that he's still a virgin, and everyone else in the office is like, oh, so it kind of becomes this whole thing. And I won't tell you the rest, but oh, so cute and full of funny things and funny moments and great dialogue, and it's actually very well structured. It's got great structure and flow to the story as a whole. It's just a shame because it's not really my kind of art style to appreciate. The other stories in it, one was about a man who accidentally slept with an 18-year-old because the 18-year-old looks like he's 38, 42, 49. That's unfortunate. I didn't really like that one so much. And then another one about high schoolers who are going out secretly, and one of them starts to be kind of feel a bit anxious and lacking in confidence because their boyfriend hasn't had sex with them yet, and that's basically it. They needed a good dicking down. I have to say, it was a really quick, fast read. I liked it. It was great. I'm really happy to have it in a collection, and I'm really happy to have finally read it. I'm pretty sure Bizarre Individual said that when he got his copy, he read it and he quite enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a solid story. The actual story itself, the dialogue, everything about it is a pretty solid story. It's just not my taste in art style, but cute nonetheless, and a very, very happy addition to my collection, which means that there's one less June manga title to add to my collection, which is always nice. And I read them, my 2 purchases this week, I've read them, so that's good. It's 100% so far. So that is everything that I read for week 3 of 2022. There are 5 print titles. I won't count Love Stage 3 because I haven't quite finished it yet. There were 15 digital, with all of the extras to do with the Magpie Lord. I think it's around 15 digital. So that's about 20 altogether. 5 of the digital I also listened to the audiobook and read. So it's a combination of audiobook and ebook, which I really think a lot of people do. So I enjoy listening to it, being able to go about doing other things and then come back and read at the same time. So yeah, I feel like this is a larger number than it really needs to be. I did only read 2 Futekia titles, and usually I've been trying to keep up with around 7, so I hope this is just a blip, but because I had all these other titles, I feel like it evens it out. So next week, hopefully more Futekia and less of everything else. Honestly, I did try and start making a vlog for the Magpie Lord. I was going to do a whole series of 12 and 12 vlogs, but I just don't think I've vlogged enough. I'll have to go over and check to see what footage I have, but I just don't think that I have enough. And also, I'm now doing a vlog for Love Stage, which hopefully I will actually manage to do as well. Because I start vlogs all the time and I never finish them. Last year's 2021's unused vlog footage, there's a lot. So yeah, hopefully this is a rather large number, 20 in 1 week, and I don't expect or hope that I will have the same number next week. Hopefully it's just some Futekia titles and maybe one other book that I need to finish because I started it in December. So anyway, I hope you like this video, little mini manga haul as well, so you can see what I'm picking up as and when I pick it up. And I hope everyone's doing well. Take care. Remember, every day is a BL day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!